Hello everybody, you tuned in once again to Crag. Thank you very much for tuning in. I do thoroughly appreciate all the likes and all the views on the videos. It makes it all worthwhile, so thank you very much. So today we're going to be talking about the lockdown protests. It's a very, very serious subject because it means an awful lot to our society and how we move forward and how we progress through this situation in the right ways. So, before we get into it though, let's have the tip of the day. So today's tip of the day is about eating. Before you have something to eat, you should blow your nose. Okay? Because if you blow your nose, you'll taste your food better. Tasting food has an awful lot to do with smell. Okay? And if you've got clear nasal passages, then ultimately you'll be able to taste your food a lot better. So there you go. That's the tip of the day done. Excuse me, the hay fever today is awful and my eyes are really bad. Okay, so lockdown protests. So first of all, I'm just going to have to state that I am all for the protests. I personally advocate the protests. I believe that they are a necessary part of our society when it comes to being heard, especially in a situation when we are being governed improperly. Okay, because believe you me, that is what's happening. And, tell me I'm wrong. Okay? The protests at the minute are about anti-lockdown. They're about anti-restrictions. Okay? Nobody wants to be restricted in their lives much longer. Nobody wants to be locked down and told they can't go to work. Families they're being ruined. Families are being broken apart by all of this. They're suffering. People have got no money. People are becoming depressed, falling out with their spouses, People are committing suicide. It's not fair, okay? This isn't for the betterment of society. This is the opposite. And people have finally had enough. And they're going out there and they're having their say collectively. But you see, you've got to then look at the way it's been reported. The media would have you think that these protests are a negative thing based on how they report it. If you look at the actual footage of the protests that happened in London, you will see that they were in their thousands. These people, they came out in their thousands and they quietly, peacefully marched through London, through Hyde Park, etc. About the most aggressive thing that happened was somebody had a t-shirt on that said, "End the lockdown." But yet, they will show you the pictures of what happened in Bristol, because it kicked off in Bristol, didn't it? Yes, it did. But these puppets of the government, okay, puppets of the global agenda, these bought and paid for propaganda media companies, such as the BBC, will have you think otherwise, okay? They will tell you that these protests are a negative thing and there are thugs running around needlessly smashing up the police vehicles. And they show you pictures of it just to get the point across. They will even quote a politician that said that this is thuggery. Okay? Well, tut tut tut. That's not exactly how it went down, is it? Because I don't know if anybody knows this, but the reason it kicked off in Bristol was because one of the police officers beat somebody with his truncheon and broke their leg. Now you think about the public at this point. The public are fed up of police brutality. Look what happened last year, with George Floyd. I'm not saying that people ought to get on top of a police van and start smashing it to bits and setting it on fire. Okay? Because ultimately all you do is you give these people a weapon to use against you and say, oh, well, look, told you they were all thugs. But you see, you've got to put yourself in the mindset of these people. They've had enough. They've had enough to the point where they're out there in the first place protesting. And now they've had to deal with police brutality. I mean, the people are protesting for their freedom, for human rights. And how do the government reply? Well, they give the police more power against protests, okay, to disperse crowds. So people are protesting for freedom and their human rights, and the government continue to take more of them away by empowering the police. And then what happens is the police take it upon themselves to let that power go to their heads and break somebody's leg with a truncheon. I mean, I'm not surprised it kicked off. Are you? Hearing this, are you surprised? But then what you should be surprised about really is the fact that the media decided to report that in a completely different way and bend the truth. In fact, just barefaced lie and say that this was a protest that turned violent and that they're all thugs. Completely missing out the part that it was in retaliation to police brutality. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, this is the manipulation of the human mind, okay, using the media as a weapon against us. It's disgusting. This is what tyranny is, okay? That is tyranny in a nutshell. The government are controlling what you perceive, okay, by spinning things to be negative when actually these people are trying to do something positive for the people. But they don't want you to think it's positive for the people because they don't want to lose their power. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to stay in power, which tells you that they shouldn't be in power in the first place. Tyranny. Okay? It's tyranny. End of. Okay? Bottom line. If you look at the government and you take into account who they are and what they are supposed to be for, well, they're actually public servants, okay? They're employed by the public to serve the public. And as a matter of fact, when the public feel as though they aren't being governed properly by these elected officials, the public have a right and a duty to speak out against it and to hold these people accountable, okay? That's all that's happening with these protests, everybody. That's all that's happening is the public are trying to hold the government accountable. It's their duty to do so, and they're being stopped, okay? That right is being taken away from them by the people who are supposed to uphold that right. Tell me that that's not tyranny. Come on, tell me I'm wrong. So the government are public servants. And you know what? I printed something out from a law book because I felt as though at this point I need to educate you on what it is through facts, okay? I know it's all about me and my opinion on most days. But today I feel as though with this being such a serious discussion, such a serious thing that's happening in our society, it's a massive issue. Some actual hard facts taken from the law itself need to be used here. Now, I'm just going to read, so forgive me for not engaging with you on the camera and just looking at the paper. Here we go. The public sector is part of the economy composed of both public services and public enterprises. Public sectors include public goods and governmental services such as the military, law enforcement and infrastructure such as public roads, bridges, tunnels, water supply, etc. Electrical grids, telecommunications and so on. Public transit, public education, along with healthcare and those working for the government itself, such as elected officials. So now we know what the public sector, what these public servants are and who is under that umbrella. So for the case of what we're talking about today, the military, law enforcement, people that work for the government, elected officials, etc. Now let's look at what those people are supposed to do and how they are supposed to uphold, okay, their positions. Public service corporations such as the government, etc., are by law allowed a wide primary discretion in rendering the public service undertaken, but such discretion must be exercised in obedience to law and in good faith and with due regard for the rights of the public. And the discretion is subject to lawful governmental supervision and regulation, to the end that the public may be properly served and private rights may be secure by due course of law. The guiding star and controlling purpose should ever be to secure to the public the primary right to a reasonably adequate service for a fair compensation, and without unjust discrimination as to patrons or service. So ultimately, what we've got here is a group of people that should be offering a non-discriminatory public service, and they're not doing, basically. It says here, with obedience to the law and in good faith and due regard for the rights of the public. Well, I don't think that's being done at all, do you? Okay? I mean, it says here that law enforcement, okay, is bound under these same rules. So let's look at the law enforcement, okay? Let's look at the police. Are they doing any of this stuff? No, they're not. The police are bound, okay, by their oath as well that they take upon becoming a police officer, to serve the public and to stand up for the public, okay, against tyranny. Now, let's take a look at the police oath, because the oath is what you take and it's what you swear by. These are the rules, okay? This is the core of what a police officer should be, okay? This is the police's oath. I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in the office of constable, with fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights and according equal respect to all people, and that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved and prevent all offences against people and their property, and that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof faithfully according to law. So if you break it down, there's no fairness and integrity and diligence happening right now, is it? Certainly not when a copper's smashing somebody's leg in with a truncheon. They're not being impartial. They're actually taking the side of the government, okay, who are robbing our freedom and our human rights, which is the next part. Upholding fundamental human rights and according equal respect to all people. Well, they are not upholding fundamental human rights, are they? Because they are complicit in the robbery of them by the government. What the police ought to be doing, okay, at this point, is standing with the people against the government. Because the government are actually not fulfilling their duties properly by the standards which they should be. So it's up to us, the people, to call them out on it. It's our right and our duty to do so. And the police, by the very by the very words of their own oath, should back us up. because we're well within our rights and they have to protect our rights. So what's going on? This comes down to, in my opinion, similar. It's a similar situation to what happened in Germany in the Second World War. The Nazis, the SS, they all thought they were above the law. They fulfilled the wants and whims of a tyrannical leader, Adolf Hitler. And they walked around bashing people's heads in, gutting women on the streets, you know, breaking families up, separating, you know, children from their parents, sticking people in gas chambers. And they all thought that it was all going to be sound, the war would be won, and they'd all get away with it. But they didn't, did they? No, they didn't. Because ultimately good will prevail. Okay? They all said they were following orders when they got caught. What a load of bollocks. We all make decisions in life, and we're all held accountable for the decisions we make. Now, these people were held up in trials called the Nuremberg trials, and they were basically done for crimes against humanity. That's what's going to happen again. It's going to be the Nuremberg trials 2.0. Because, believe you me, and this is a message to the police, believe you me, all right? It will go tits up for you. Good will prevail. Evil can only reign for so long. And it will come crumbling down. And when it does, you should make sure you're on the right side of the fence. Because just like what happened in the Nuremberg trials, the people that were convicted for crimes against humanity, these horrible, disgusting individuals, they were shot. Okay? A lot of them were shot. A lot of them were imprisoned. It wasn't a very nice life for them after that. And it will happen again, because this is also a crime against humanity. And when you're fining people for having a cup of tea with their grandma, okay, like a member of the fucking Gestapo, it's not going to go down well when the people finally win. Remember, you are a part of the people. Okay? You're a member of society just like us. And you need to uphold your oath. Okay? And be for the people. Don't sit around, blindly follow, afraid, just following orders. Because when it comes down to it, that won't be enough. It won't be enough to get you out of trouble. And trouble is coming. So that's my message to the police. So this is my final point.
Perfect.
Make no mistake. We, the people, we're at war right now. We are at war. I heard about a decade or so ago, I read somewhere that the first two great wars would be fought with bullets and with blood. However, the third great war would be fought with economics. Now, what's happening right now? Tell me I'm wrong. Okay, this is a situation now that's getting out of hand. And this situation is war. We are at war. This is a silent war. Just because people aren't marching the streets just yet with guns doesn't mean that we're not at war. This is quite clearly a war and a fight for our freedom, our human rights. This is obvious. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that can see this. You know, people ask me, Why on earth do I do these videos? You know, why do I waste my time? I don't know, man. It makes me feel like perhaps I'm the only one that really cares. Because just like those people that are protesting, we've all got to try and do our bit in our own way. We've all got to try and fight this war the way we feel we are going to be best served and that we're able. So this is a call to arms. It's about time people stood up, realised that they're being lied to, okay, and just did something about it. Stood together. Instead of shouting at the people that are protesting, right, and believing the news and calling them thugs, actually look at what it is they're trying to do. The reasons why they're out there in the streets. They're trying to prove to the world that freedom is still worth something. You know, while people are still sat at home, getting pissed up, you know, drinking their life away on furlough, not caring about the guy that's losing everything, this war is being lost by the people. You know, we need to stand against all of this, okay? We need to stand against this right now because we're reaching the point of no return. So that's it. That's the final point. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I wish I could say that I've really enjoyed making it, but it's been an extremely serious subject, and I feel as though it's very, very close to my heart. So thank you very much for going through this with me. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. This is Crag signing off. Seriously. Love and peace to all things everywhere. One love.